Good morning, everyone. It's such a strange hour. I don't even know if any vampires are out. But I got news today, like we all get sometimes, that's really hard, And someone I just love very much is in the hospital right now, is in a full-out sort of beyond coma, and had a blood transfusion while in the coma, vomited while in the coma, and he's still alive but really barely hanging on. And it's just so sad. I just feel so sad that nobody knows him. There are people out there where no one knows their story, and he's really the hardest worker I've ever met. He's in construction and has his own small, business, or should I say it's medium-sized by now. He's been in it for so long and is one of those real perfectionists, one of those amazing master builders that people always, feel really grateful to find and to have. And he's just always cared for his family. He's always been there for everyone, and he lives in Minnesota, so if anyone knows what the weather likes there, being in construction in Minnesota is about as cold can get, and it's just hard. This is someone who I've just seen up on roofs, working, in the middle of blizzards, just with his, hands practically frostbitten every day. And I never knew how he could even do it. It was just because he loved his family so much. And he was really what I would consider one of the classic victims of these times, of this era. I'll never forget when Obama said, you didn't create your business. And I don't know if Obama ever worked a day in his life. I've only seen pictures of him, smoking marijuana in Hawaii and kind of living the good life. And, Daryl was one of those people who just always, got the permits and was always going through red tape. I never saw how he had time to even build a house when I saw the amount of red tape that he went through. And he was also highly moral. He never really, he didn't develop on new ground. He would, tear down stuff that was really bad and build over it. He wasn't one of these people that just goes and tears down the forest and things. There's a lot of, cheesy developers out there. There's a lot of people that do things to cut corners. There's so many people like that in the world who you can't count on, and who promise you things, and who are jive talkers and liars and everything else under the sun. And it's not just people. I mean, if anyone saw my little Death of the Bushes vid I put up a couple of days ago, I didn't even film this one poster that said proudly serving, I don't know what, the public, proudly serving whatever. And nobody's serving anyone. There's no pride in anything. It's just these weird, empty slogans, this just kind of jive talk. So it's so hard to feel the loss of a presence so strong, of a presence so vital, and how he could remain brilliant and funny through it. In fact, before he went into this coma, I was watching a really nice interview with Adam Carolla, who I only sort of just discovered, and I think he's like really famous or something. But he was saying that he was in construction and just how deeply lonely it was to be in it. That you can be spending the night by yourself, just on your hands and knees, getting molding right. You know, just how very thankless it is and how very hard it is, and just how we've just been facing, you know, so many people like what I live around with the state who really have fleeced people like Daryl his whole life, and he just really had to work hard as the small businessman. You know, he wasn't the bureaucrat just kind of soaking it all up and doing nothing. And it's hard to relate to people in Olympia that don't understand that level of work. The ones that run the show here, I mean, I'm sure there's definitely people here who have difficult jobs, but they sure aren't the ones who are making the money. And you know, he did well. He did really well. There were years, I think, that he brought in over $1 million and things like that, but it would just all go right back out, right, to just insane taxes. I'd never seen a person just tax so much, and it was almost as if who he was as a person was the enemy of the state somehow, of Obama, you know, the kind of able-bodied, smart, on their feet. Didn't do a lot of college. He did do some college. I don't want to speak of him in the past tense. He's in a coma, but he's still alive. But there's so much concern about his body, because he worked so hard for so many years on rooftops and on things like this that, you know, his whole body has just been completely racked, you know. And it's like, is that what it takes to make it in this country if you're not Somali? You know, the Somalis are running around with $1 million in their suitcases. You know, the Chinese, you know, have all these amazing state jobs here along with the jihadists. You know, they're all quite allowed to make a lot of money, and they're given really the money that Daryl made. You know, you look at that $1 million in the suitcase, and where did it come from? Well, it came from... Hello, good morning, Seagull. It's nice to see you. I'm just going to go really slow here. I don't want to hurt you or anything. Good morning. But I just got so sad when I was talking to my mother about him, how he really was a person who sort of was born without a chance. He was born at a time when there was so much anger towards the kind of the macho white male, you know, and so many fines and fees. And I just always saw that with him, that he was, you know, not part of the club somehow, even though at one point he did belong to a really nice club. But, you know, during the Obama stuff, he, you know, there was a lot of loss. There was just so much loss. And it's like, you know, I just feel like he's another casualty of it, that, you know, what he went through during the Obama administration was was just unconscionable. And I'm not going into details, but I'm just saying that it was like Obama really had it out for people who were really working, who were really trying, and he wanted to get rid of that class. I don't mean to just say Obama. I mean the Bushes, the Clintons. He was just, the last in the line of it. We're talking about the European Union. We're talking about a great big kind of horrible plan that's been in effect for a long time, and it's just really horrible to see how hard his whole life was, or has been, that he just was, and his son too, my little brother, was just really kind of punished for being who he was every step of the way. And my Daryl worked hard. He didn't want Andy to kind of have to do what he did as far as construction, and Andy was in science and did really well. I think I've mentioned this before, and he got bumped off even though he had been written up in the Science Journal for his studies in helium, and he had a grant to study helium for many years at the University of Minnesota, and yet was thrown out for affirmative action. And he then switched and went into law, but that was a very hard thing to do. And he was, I feel, suicidal for a while in between that. It's not like he just said, oh, AA came along, affirmative action, I'll just go do something else. No, it was a very, very horrible experience for him. And he had done better, because a lot of the affirmative action was just bringing in people who didn't know anything, and his teachers were just horrified because they all knew him, and he'd been there and had gotten the grants and had been in the Journal of Science, and then just got totally like, no, whatever, we don't care. So I guess it's frustrating to think of someone who's in a hospital dying, who did everything in this world right, who did nothing but care for his family, and just gets screwed at every turn. And it's horrible. It's like some kind of god-awful Charles Dickens novel or something. And, we do know some people that run around who are like professional victims, and they are victimized all the time, but this is not one of those people. He was quite the opposite, and just a person of very few words. In fact, he worked so much he didn't even have friends. I know that whoever worked with him really liked him a lot, and he did, have people that he has worked with who are, calling right now and saying, where are you? My mom said his, phone is full of people who are looking for him. But he worked so hard, he never was really able to have a kind of a sort of another kind of life, and so it's weird to be here in Olympia with people that just like hang out in coffee houses and chatter about nothing all the time, and somehow have even gotten, in power, in places of influence, and who are, even trying to get us to now embrace the most, vile, violent sort of things imaginable. So we're in a little tough state right now in our world, and I just, I think of him and how I don't even know anyone who really knows him. and who can appreciate this person and all he has done and all he means. And I just feel very sad. I feel lonely and sad that this person is just like laying in a hospital bed, and that there's no one who really helped make his life better. And it was like everything was always so against him. And it's like I really love this country. Like I really feel American, but I also really hate what happened when this country became infiltrated and turned on its own people, and just billions going to NATO and programs and this and that. And you know, I just feel like all the good people I know have just been the carcasses. They've just been nothing but the carcasses for the vampires to feed off of. So it's pretty sad just to think of someone I know and their whole life has been nothing but trying to do the right thing, doing the right thing, being an amazing person, and getting nothing but punished for it. What do you do with that? What do you do with that? Who do you call? I don't have any minister to call about that. So I thank you all for just listening, because it's really lonely right now. And I don't think any of us were expecting it, although I've lived for years just feeling really bad for him. And really bad for all the people out there who work so hard and get so little. And I'm so tired of the ones that don't do anything and that make so much off the backs of people like Daryl, who are real saints. Thank you.